Okay, welcome to my channel. My name is Tim Russell. I am the president of Hyperpreterism, Honorary Doctorates, and other funny stuff Research Institute in Ardmore, Alabama. And yeah, that's a mouthful. And we're fixing to take a look at what the president of the Preterist Research Institute in Ardmore, Oklahoma has to say. So let's get with it.
Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. How much I appreciate you being with me. Hard to express, but I really do appreciate it. Let me ask you to please hit the subscribe and the like button.
Yeah. Or the dislike button, either one. It doesn't matter. Just traffic. That's what he wants. Hey, this video 3 days ago, it's already got 1,000 views. So you're moving on up, Don.
Let's keep this momentum going. Okay, over the last couple of weeks.
By the way, I'm just I'm just clowning around with this video. I finally got my uh, regular computer, my desktop I use for these videos, and I'm not having to use my laptop this time. I was having trouble miking through Clipchamp. It worked great for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden, they tell me you can't use an outside a mic going through my mixer. It doesn't work with them. I said, well, it's been working. They said, no, you haven't been using it because it's never worked. So I don't know what to tell them. But what I did, my grandkids, my two granddaughters, they needed a place to store their old karaoke machine. And so they brought it over here, put it in my music room, which I call it their room. This is their music room, so they think they can bring their junk. That's fine, they can. But I got to looking at that karaoke mic, and I thought I can adapt that down and plug that in the back of my computer. And sure enough, it works. And now I can have both internal YouTube sound going through my mixer with this mic, and then once I get through with the Clipchamp video, it'll all have the volume it needs, and I can mess it up from there. But anyway, I got it working, and that's the only reason I'm filming with this video tonight, just to test it. His Challenge of Christ series, he's about let it go. He quit referencing John 10:37 because he knew after, well, you had to know. I pointed out for years that he has never once quoted accurately John 10:37 plus John 10:38. He did do 37 one time by itself, and I think I remember one time he quoted Jesus accurately, but he wanted to stress. Now, the context is the next verse in 38. No, he had it all out of context, and I proved that. And so now he's changed the challenge of Christ, and it comes way over here towards the end of the video, and I don't know if I'll get to it. Well, I'm not going to play all of Don's, that's for sure. But his challenge of Christ now is the promises made to Abraham were all fulfilled in the first century, and he says, or I forget how he worded it, but that's what he means. John 10:37 has nothing to do with it in this video and last week's video. This challenge of Christ, he calls it. No, what it is, he's realized this ain't working. Um, he keeps pointing out how I'm lying and misquoting Jesus, and I got to change it a little bit. And he's just, the past 2 weeks, just out of the blue, says the challenge of Christ is actually he fulfilled everything in AD 70. So I don't know what's his job now. I don't know. There's no, if all things are fulfilled, all things, the resurrection, everything is fulfilled. There's nothing left. There's no reason for the church. And Preston has stated in the past, Matthew 28, 18 through 20, and the like verses, that's been fulfilled. The first century fulfilled it. So I don't know, we're not to be going out making disciples of all nations and all that. And him and William Bell a few days ago were talking about how Jesus predicted, they don't ever use the word prophesied, but Jesus predicted their persecution as hyper preterists. We're told that we would be persecuted and all that. William Bell was, uh, oh, woe is him, and was talking about his, how brave he's boasting in himself. So is Don K. Preston. They always do. But talking about how they stood firm, they stood their ground. Jesus said they would suffer persecution, and I've always wondered, and I've asked these hyper preterists before. John Watson was the last one that blocked me, and I asked him. He was using that. Oh, we'll always be persecuted. Jesus said we would be. I said, even though you claim all prophecy was fulfilled, you're saying Jesus prophesied you'd be persecuted. I thought you said that is all fulfilled. Well, what you don't get to, of course, it's us that's stupid. We don't understand because they they pretended they studied the Greek, and they both William Bell and Don K. Preston has an honorary doctorate from Vision International out in California. And if you'll check on that, that's an outstanding, unaccredited, laying on of hands miracles type school out there that Don K. Preston was honorary doctored. He couldn't even earn a degree from an unaccredited university. Folks, these people are deceivers. That's all they are. They're not being persecuted. They left the faith. They left the church. They claim to be, oh, we love the Lord. No, they don't. If you love the Lord, you'll keep his commandments. And that's what Jesus said. And no, Matthew 28:18-20, that has not been fulfilled. It will be one day. The reason they say it's been fulfilled, Jesus told them he would be with them till the end of the age. And they claim the end of the age. It doesn't mean world, it means end of the old covenant age. That's the title of this video here, the end of the old covenant world. Well, the old covenant is done away, but that wasn't the end of the world. That was the end of the old covenant. We're under a new covenant. And let's see what Don's saying here. Let me see if I can find where he's talking about the challenge of Christ is the promises he made to Abraham. That's not a challenge, it's just told what's going to happen. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Let me see if I can guess where it was at.
Was just about to be fulfilled. Language there is being used in some economy. Every single generation to believe that it is imminent, that it could happen at was to come in the first century.
I don't know.
Fulfillment and the realization.
I'm just playing around with my clip chant, folks, and I'm not going to post this video everywhere. I'm just playing around, but along here somewhere, he said the challenge of Christ is Jesus, or all the old covenant promises to old covenant Israel was fulfilled in the first century. That's not a challenge. That's so I don't know. What they're selling, I ain't buying, and I never have. Let's see.
The Abrahamic promise was the heavenly city, the heavenly country. This is nothing less than the new heaven and the new earth.
That's where we're at, folks. We're in the new heaven and the new earth. New Jerusalem came down. So you have to ask yourself, if all that was fulfilled, and death, there's no more death, there's no more tears, there's no more anything like that. All things have passed away. All things have become new. Which in the church, that has happened in the spiritual church. But Revelation 20, 21, 22, when they talk about the new heaven and the new earth, there's no more death. Death and Hades was cast into the lake of fire. And now when you die, they have no verse to go to tell you where you go. When Paul says he would he would rather go to be with the Lord, but he didn't want to leave those who needed him to preach them the gospel. They say, well, see, Paul's going to be with the Lord. That was, they claim heaven wouldn't open until AD 70. Yet Paul died before AD 70. Paul was saying, I want to go to be with the Lord. But he could, it was impossible until, under their doctrine, until AD 70. And you point that out to them, and you don't understand the Greek. You're not thinking like an ancient Jew. Well, you bet I'm not. But I understand the Greek just as well as Don K. Preston. Just because I don't look up pronunciations on using Copilot doesn't mean I don't read and Google the Greek. I mean, I don't want to waste time pretending I speak Greek like Don does. Now he will waste time. And people say, well, why are you telling me that? I don't need to know that. And, just ask them, what do I need to do to be saved? Well, you got to understand the way the old ancient Jews and the ancient rabbis thought. I mean, it's ridiculous. But let me see if this is where he was talking about the challenge of Christ was promises to Abraham.
Paul in Galatians chapter 4 said they were looking for the city that was above, the heavenly city. I wonder if that's the heavenly city of Hebrews.
Yeah, that's the mother of us all. Jerusalem from above is the mother of us all. They claim it's already came to earth. We're in the New Jerusalem, according to Don K. Preston. Paul wasn't, but we are. Because Jesus came in judgment, resurrected the dead and all that in AD 70. And there was dancing in the streets and all that. Ridiculous.
Hebrews chapter 11 to 13. The writer of Revelation was looking for the New Jerusalem, which would come down from God out of heaven. It's the heavenly Jerusalem.
Okay, and it's here now. According to Hyperpreterist, it's here. Well, we're in the heaven. We're in heaven, we're dwelling with God, and there's no more tears. There's no more pain. There is no afterlife, according to them, because this is it. All things have been fulfilled. The resurrection of the dead is over. If you die now, tough.
Hebrews chapter 12 says, you have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God.
Well, was it during the time of Hebrews or during the time of Revelation, Don? You can't say it's already here in the Hebrews, but Revelation has to wait till AD 70 to be fulfilled. See, folks, that's what I'm talking about. It's so convoluted and confused. Another thing said in Hebrews, God is not the author of confusion. I think it may not be in Hebrews. He's not the author of confusion, but these hyperpreterists are. They're just confused. They're confused themselves.
To the heavenly Jerusalem.
Well, hurry up and talk about the.
So here is the Abrahamic hope of a heavenly city and a heavenly country. Galatians 4 talks about it in Galatians 4:22 through 32. Hebrews talks about it. Revelation talks about it. Is this a different Abrahamic hope?
Well, folks, is the hope we have dependent on the Abrahamic hope? No. The Christian does not have hope in the old covenant. The promises made to Abraham before there was a covenant, the land, the seed, that was all fulfilled in Christ. It's fulfilled in Christ. We are the Christian. We are in the new covenant, the new and better covenant that Hebrews talks about. We're not part of the Abrahamic covenant, Don. The promises to Abraham were fulfilled. The land, the the nation, and the seed. Those are fulfilled. We're not worried about what he told Abraham anymore. We can read and understand how God operates. He made us a promise. Those who believe in his son will never die. You say, well, that's been fulfilled in the first century. And so if you miss that century, if you wasn't around at that time, this doesn't apply to you. And folks, that's where Israel only comes from. This doctrine has sprung up, the Israel only doctrine, and those who have followed it, they came out of that did come out of this hyper preterist doctrine. I don't blame them. That is a logical conclusion. If New Jerusalem is here, we have nothing, none of that in Revelation 21:22 applies to us, and it doesn't. If it was fulfilled, then we have nothing else to look forward to. It was to Israel only, not us. And that's where it's all those Abrahamic promises that Don's talking about was not to us, but he says they were.
My debate with Joel McDermott, I asked him to give me proof.
If you're missing 5 or more teeth,
Let me mute this, folks.
listen up. With Nuvia, you get no hidden fees, upfront.
That there was an Abrahamic hope, or
So when he goes to talk about in this debate, he had nothing to say. He went blank. Folks, he makes up these stories. Those of us who watch these debates, we know Don's making it up. McDermott or what or that guy in Indiana, I forget his name. All of those people, and this other one in this preacher in Alabama. When Don debates them, they wear him out, and he'll come out and say, "I won that and hands down," and he'll say, "They never answered this. They just stood there. They didn't have a word to say." He's lying because I've watched those debates, and it's never anything like he says. And he brags about debating. He'd rather debate an atheist now than because he agrees with them. They all agree. The atheists, the agnostics, the Israel only bunch, and Don can't debate them because they'll spank him good. But he, like this Richard Carrier, they both went in agreeing that if Christ didn't come in the first century, resurrect the dead, judge the world in righteousness, and bring in the new heaven and a new earth spoken of in Revelation 20 through 22, if he didn't fulfill all that in AD 70, he lied. They both affirmed that. They were both in the affirm. And Don brags about, I've debated Richard Carrier, world famous scholar of all scholars. It's sickening, folks. But let me see if I can.
And actually, he was dependent upon an Abrahamic.
I want to get to that. If he said right in here somewhere that that's the challenge of Christ.
Abrahamic hope versus an Israel hope. Folks, it doesn't work. Hebrews 11.
Yeah, you don't work, Don. Nothing you say works.
11 is emphatic about it. Galatians is emphatic about it. Hebrews cannot be misunderstood on this. Revelation cannot be misunderstood.
Yeah, see, all of those Christian books, Galatians, Hebrews, Revelation, folks, it doesn't work if you want to apply it to us. It's to Israel. It's not to us.
Stood on this. So, last week, boy, I tell you, I had to go back over this. The Judaizers, are you so foolish by the works of faith or by the hearing works of the law? One who supplies the stuff under Torah.
I forget it. Y'all can watch this video yourself. It's dated, what is the date of this one? It's 3 days ago. It's called, it was on Now TV Morning Musings, Don's YouTube channel. I don't subscribe to it. I go to it. I don't subscribe to it. You don't have to subscribe to it to find his videos. But this one's called The End of the Old Covenant World, number 3. And before he's through with this, there will be a number 3033. Because he will repeat the same thing every day. But I promise you, next time I do a Don K. Preston video, it'll be better than this one. I wasn't planning on doing it, but I got this clip jump working, and I wanted to try out this karaoke microphone. Let me see how much time I got. Got 20 minutes. Uh, Let me see if I can bring a song over here and end this with. Uh, I've got them all stored in the cloud. Never mind, folks. I'll stop here and I may go back and uncloud a video and let you hear a song that we come across. Some songs, some lyrics that we wrote when I was with a band in 35, 40 years ago, somewhere along in there. And I think they're pretty good songs, but they're obsolete. They're not for today's ears, but it's for my ears. I like them. And I posted them on my YouTube channel if y'all want to go check out my YouTube channel. It's Hyperpreterism and Honorary Doctorate something. Let's see, let me show it to you. It's Hyperpreterism. Look up there in the right corner. Hyperpreterism, Honorary. Got it much. Here it is right here. Hyperpreterism, Honorary Doctorates. Tim Russell 359. There's my granddaughter Emma. That's Riley there. Yeah, that's Miss right here. Let me play this one for you right quick. Well, whoops, that was one I was watching the other day with him and Bill. I tagged it with a song. They say, well, this shows that no, that's a different one. Well, here's a song my wife's mother wrote, and it's a uplifting song. I ain't got her permission to play it yet. Let me show you practice. Here's me practicing to a click track. Okay, that's a lot harder than it looks. Well, folks, that's all I got for today, and I'm gonna play around with this karaoke mic. I think it's gonna work okay. And but for whatever reason, Clipchamp just quit working on this computer, and they tell me you can't use your Zoom on Clipchamp, my Zoom mixing board. Well, everybody else does. I said, and I did for years, and all of a sudden it quit working on this. I had to use a little old laptop I got to do these videos. Well, let me click stop before infinity blows up. And thank you for listening. I'll see y'all next time.